Peace, everybody. Just want to welcome everybody. Moors in Americas for all Moorish Americans. We're going to be speaking with somebody who's very, very intelligent, very wise, somebody I've been following online for a while, Toriano Obashango L. And first and foremost, I want to give honors, much praise to the Most High, Father God Allah, honors to Noble Drew Ali, our divine prophet, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may love instead of hate. And honors to the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our prophet. And honors to all the faithful Moors out there all over the world. That's what we're doing it for. That's what Moors in America is all about.
Peace, fam. Everybody, welcome. This is Moors in America. We provided news information for all Moors in America, all Moorish Americans. Today we have a guest, Toriano Obashango L. I've been following this brother online for a while now, going all the way back to MySpace days, right? So he's been coming with the scholarship, with the research and the info, and a lot of you guys out there probably already heard of him, especially the people who's really on it. And if you haven't heard of him yet, but you're in this for real, trying to figure out how to get yourself out of, or get your people out of this situation that we find ourselves in. If you're serious about it, then this is somebody you definitely want to research and check out his website. And you definitely want to share this interview with your family and friends. And without any further ado, go ahead and turn this over to my guest so he can introduce himself. Peace.
Hey, peace and love, family, brother Sharif. Peace and love, peace and blessings, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. It's good to finally speak with you and have you on the show.
Yeah, man, it is. I'm glad you reached out to me, man, and invited me, man. I'm, very honored and very happy, man. Yes, it's been a long time, man. It's been about 11 years, man, since, we've been in touch with each other, man. Like you said, since the MySpace days, man. I've been doing it, since then and, and even earlier, back in the 80s and 90s. So, yeah, man, hey, I'm ready to do this thing, man. Let's get this knowledge to our people, man, so they can have a viable method of saving themselves, man. A principal method of saving themselves. So, fire away, brother.
All right, and that's a big deal too, because like what you're saying, you've been on it since the 80s and 90s. Like, we've been on this since before the internet is what it is, with all the info on YouTube, and people could kind of just halfway through the scholarship without actually having to get out there and work, go to libraries, get out there and meet people, and actually physically put in work. So you got to respect what the brother's bringing. And what really made me want to go ahead and speak to you now was because of the post that you had put up, I think yesterday or the day before, and you were saying you were going to go in on Donald Trump. And I'd really love to share that with the audience, to share your thoughts on Donald Trump, and especially in light of what he just said about the 14th Amendment. And saying that, being born here doesn't make you a citizen.
Yeah, well, I don't know how viable this source is, but they're saying that Trump is a member of Scottish Masonry, a lodge in Scotland, which I can vet that information. I got it off on one of those alternative news sources, so I don't too much get off into that type of stuff, unless it sounds like it's something interesting. But if that is the case, then by him being, if that is the case, and if he is a Mason, then that means that he knows the truth. He knows the truth. Masons know the history. The Shriners know the history of, Amaruca. Not only do they know the archaeological history and the ancient technological history, as well as the morphological history and the genetic history, they know the political history. So he knows how that amendment came about in depth and who are all the power players and whatnot, and those behind the scenes that had interest in getting that fraud in the place. So Trump knows, being that, like you said, being born here doesn't make you a citizen. You know, but see, that's not the first time we've heard that.
Yeah.
You know, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us that.
Yeah.
And Moors need to listen carefully, because you got a lot of Moors running around doing what they call some type of naturalization thing. I'm not sure, but I know, you know, I've had debates with Moors about that. There is no position over there in the 14th Amendment corporate de facto militarized democracy for you to naturalize into. That's not even for you. You know, you're born a citizen of the empire, you know, and the citizenship breaks down into two factions. It breaks down into jus sanguinis, which goes all the way back to the Paleo-American autochthonous aborigine, stepping all the way back, which is archaeologically recorded and record down in Miramar, Argentina, 3.5 to 5 million years ago. Mm-hmm. And Floridino Armagino, you can get that information from The Hidden History of the Human Race by Michael Cremo and Richard Thompson. Also, another book called Forbidden Archaeology. Stepping forward all the way to Brazil, Toca de Esperanza, which is a cave where they found human remains and, you know, and evidence of humans 300,000 years ago. And another cave called not another cave, but another archaeological spot down there called Sede de Capivara, which according to Dr. Nede Guidon goes all the way back, quite possibly to 100,000 years ago. Come on up to Mexico, you got Huayatlaco, around about 250,000 years ago. Then you have in California, you have Texas Street Site 80 to 90,000 years ago. You have the dig that they had found out there like a couple of years ago with the mammoth bones and human activity about 130,000 years ago. Yeah. You have the other place out there in California, the Calico site, about 200,000 years ago. Come on over to South Carolina. You got the Topper site, 51,300 years ago. Then come on back to Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee, Holliston Mills. You got the Pygmy Skull Burial Site, archaeological dig dated about 40,000 years ago. So, of course, all of this is before the empire, you know. So that in and of itself is a part of what they call your natural born citizenship in the Americas under what they call jus sanguinis. Mm-hmm. The law pertaining to blood, the law of blood. That's how long we've been here, and quite possibly even longer, because the oldest version of the malarial parasite was found here in the Americas. It was found in the Dominican Republic in a mosquito that was trapped in amber. Wow. And I think it was about 10 to 15 million years ago. And it's already been scientifically shown that malaria and O-type blood have a very, very ancient connection.
Can
not
I
A, not
right
B,
there?
not AB. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that would have any connection to, like, people over here having sickle cell anemia? Because they told us that came from the genes of our ancestors in Africa, you know, mutating to kind of as a way to survive malaria and different things like that.
Well, you got your thinking cap on, don't you?
Yeah.
Well,
let's
look at it like this. The malarial test, the malarial immunity test started, I think, around about 1955, and the test didn't begin on Africans. It started on so-called Negroes in America. Wow. Yeah, the testing started on us. The malarial immunity test, P-Vivax malaria, started on us over here.
And
they want to find out why we seem to have a natural immunity. So if that in and of itself tells you that you already knew that it didn't come from Africa. You started testing us over here.
Yeah.
So not only that, in British historical record, when the British had colonized Honduras, the British were dying left and right of what they call yellow fever or malaria.
Yeah.
And they said that the Garifuna walk around, man, and deal with the mosquitoes like, whatever it is, it don't even bother. They had a natural immunity to it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So,
these are in British
they got me, or like if I don't know any better, they have me and other people like me with sickle cell in the family looking, over there thinking like, not knocking, African ancestry or anything, but looking over there thinking, okay, my auntie's cousins got sickle cell, so that means that we came from Africa, not telling us the indigenous are walking around here, okay, while the colonists are dying, getting sick. Wow.
Exactly. So all of this is a history that plays a part in your youth sanguineous status of who you are in Amaruca, Ak, also known as Turtle Island, Maghreb al-Aqsa, Asku Shamal, Ta'asar, Land of Osiris, whatever you want to call it, Egypt, but it's got 1,000,001 names. You already know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Usoli aspect comes in under who was the first nation or empire to place a lawfully recognized claim. That would be the Canaanite, Phoenician, Carthaginian, Punic Iberian Empire, with the born stone laid in Comassaguncana, Cape Cod Bay, Massachusetts, underneath Hanno, the navigator, 500 AD, BC, 500 BC approximately, with the stone written in, they said Punic Iberian, which is a spin-off from Proto-Canaanite, Paleo-Hebrew. With a lot of them use the same glyphs. It says a proclamation of annexation. Do not deface. With this, Hanno takes possession. And that's when he annexed the Americas in toto to the Carthaginian, Punic Iberian, Phoenician Canaanite Empire in the east. Also making it the first republic because, yes, as I pointed out and posted on my timeline, Carthage was a republic. So America has been under republic jurisdiction for 2,518 years, just with the born stone. I mean, the republic for the United States of America was not the first one. That's a spinoff. And they tell you that. How do we know it's a spinoff? Because it's in the Federalist Papers, number 10, where they said we want to go back and study these ancient republics. And they tell you exactly which republic they chose to go with. Why? Because what is the symbol of Carthage? The elephant, right?
Yeah.
What's the symbol of the Republican Party? The elephant. So they put it in your face. But these are Masonic symbols and codes that if you don't recognize them, you won't see it for what it is. Yeah. So they already know who you are. They know majority of the tribes. If you read the letters and papers of Thomas Jefferson in July 1788, they talk about the Creeks, the Muskogee, coming from a surveying team that was lost over here during the Periplus on Hannibal. Not Hannibal, but Hanno, and basically he was surveying the land, surveying the coastlines and surveying the land inward. And not only that, in that same book, and I can thank Sister Crystal Douglas Bay for this. Give her a shout out on here. She's been doing basically a lot of. She takes my videos and takes notes, and then she goes and does her research on what I teach. There's another part in that book where it said, "Hey man, that the languages." And the guy was saying the people in Africa. He called the people in Africa red men. That's what he called them. He called them red men. He didn't say black in this section of the book. He said the red men of America and the red men of Africa are basically virtually identical people. He said that in the book. He says, and there's a plethora of languages. There's a plethora of languages over here and a plethora of languages over there. He said, now we need to tell who came from who. Did they come from quote-unquote Africa, or did the Africans come from quote-unquote America? He said, because it seems like the languages are more diverse over here. Well, I think as far as us coming from Africa, I think that this is what I think. I think that a lot of us left from here and migrated over there, but the languages were brought back to us over here. And the reason being is because a lot of the ancient writings and the evidence of the various languages are older over there. But as far as the people and whatnot, the mounds and things of that nature, pyramids and things, they're old over here. So I think what happened was around about 12,000 BC, 12,000 years ago, not BC, excuse me, 12,000 years ago, science has already shown that there was an asteroid, a comet, that hit in the South Carolina area. And what happened was it caused so much problems, man, that it irradiated the soil with iridium. And it created what they call a dryas, almost like a small, what do they call that, ice age, mini ice age period. And large swaths of the Americas, of North America, became uninhabitable. So we had to leave. Now, if you know about 12,000 years ago, that's when they say that Atlantis sank around about 10,000 BC.
Yeah.
Is that what they tell you?
Uh-huh.
Well, 12,000 years ago would be approximately close to 10,000 BC, around about the time they say Atlantis sunk. So a lot of us had to leave. We'd gone back down to Mexico and South America, and we had gone over to Africa. We'd gone over to Africa, taking ships and whatnot, and a lot of those areas were recently settled. Now, here's the funny part about it. If you look at a lot of the Yoruba people and area in Nigeria, some of them, man, look like us. Some of them look like the pictures of what they call, quote-unquote, the Indian, with long, keen, pointed noses and things of that nature. And not only that, there's a book. I can't remember the author's name. I think the title of the book is Africa and the Discovery of America. It's in my OneDrive. It's in the historical readings and other documents folders. But I can't remember the author's name, but he's talking about that, how the bronze casting that the Benin and the Yoruba have, it wasn't developed there. It was brought there. And they said, quote unquote, these people had a completely organized city-state government that was just brought up onto the land of now known today as Nigeria, that it did not evolve there. They don't know where it come from. They said these people had high technology. And they said that it looked like as if they came across the ocean from the west, which would be Atlantis. So, there's also a lot of lore talking about, people leaving the Americas and going over there. And then the funny part about it is, I have a good friend that I communicate with regularly. Her name is Dr. Fatou Dara. She's a dentist, man. And she's half American Aborigine Moor. And she's half Ghanaian. Her father's Ghanaian. And she's been bringing forth the dentology record, on various teeth. Well, the Igbo people have a very high percentage of what they call shovel teeth. Their sizes are shovel-shaped. Okay. And it's very high amongst them. And you find that normally amongst the Native American, quote-unquote, Mongoloid stock over here that's on the reservation that they call the Indian. Of course, they've been homogenized out, bleached out now, but a lot of those people were darker than me, or even darker, just with, Mongoloid features, But they have what's called shovel teeth, and they find that amongst the Igbo, whereas they're like the only one of the only groups of quote-unquote Africans that have that dental trait, but it runs high in the Mongoloid stock of what they call the Indian over here from South America to North America and Siberia, places like that. So, that lets you know that people migrate. People migrate. Various people have left the Americas and gone to populate other places. But all of this, back to the focal point, all of this is a part of your jus sanguinis history of who you are in the Americas. And the jus soli history deals with the empire claim. Of course, Kemet, what they call Hekupta, was already over here. What they call Tameri, Tasiti, which is now known today as, Sudan, or what they call back in the day, Upper Hekupta, Tanesi, Ethiopia. Those people were already over here. They was colonizing over here long ago, thousands of years ago. But the claim was done by Hanno. I mean, prior to him, people came over. They built on the land, left landmarks. He did all types of things. How do we know this? Because we have a lot of archaeological artifacts that have Medu Neter writing on it. They have Phoenician writing on it. They have, ancient Libyan script, But the actual claim where somebody said, this is mine. I own this. I'm claiming this. I'm taking possession of this. That was Hanno.
Okay.
So
that book that you were saying is on the OneDrive, that's Leo Weiner, Africa and the Discovery of America.
Yeah, and there's another one in there. This guy's a German author too. He came out around about the time of Leo Weiner too. So you may want to go through both of those because he goes in depth about the Yoruba. Yoruba have been studied for quite some time, but both of them dealing with Africa. So the Leo Weiner, I think I got the whole volume of Leo Weiner and that other guy as well. But that you can go through those. But where does this go all the way up to Donald Trump? How everything I said prior to that play into Donald Trump?
Before you go in on that, can I say one thing just to add to what you're saying, man? When you were saying about the Shriners, for the most part, knowing our history and knowing who we truly are, I can attest to that just from my own personal experience with Shriners when they encounter me wearing the fez, and maybe some of you out there too know. So he's not just saying this stuff. He's not just just running off at the mouth. Like, this is real. This is fact. So go ahead. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, it's funny you said that, man. I'm gonna tell a little Fed story, then I'm gonna go back to Donald Trump.
All right.
I remember back in 2008 when I was living in Atlanta, and I was out on Memorial Drive going into the flea market, and as I was walking towards the door, I might have been about 100 yards away, about a block away, because we had parked way out at the upper top part of the lot. And it was this little Asian man. I don't know which country he was from, and his wife. And they were walking, and he was talking to his wife, and he had his head down, and she had her head down. I rarely see Asians walking with their head up. Looking ahead. But I was walking towards them, and they were walking towards me. So, I'm 6'3", so it's it's kind of hard to not notice me.
Yeah.
So, he's walking, and he looks up, and he sees me coming his direction, and I have my fez on, and he had on bifocal glasses. His eyes got big as dinner plates in those glasses, man.
Wow.
And he tapped his wife real quick and said something to him in their language, like, look, look, look. So she held her head up and looked, and her eyes got big. Man, those folks stopped. They put their hands together like they was praying, and they started bowing up and down, bowing up and down, bowing up and down. Of course, me being fresh in the movement, I didn't really know what that was about. I just put my hand across my heart and nodded and said peace and kept it moving. And You know, by that time, I'd already made it past them where they were standing doing all that bowing and stuff to me. So he tapped his wife, and he said something. I'm assuming that it meant wait right here. Now, this man had to been in easy in his 70s, easily.
Yeah.
And he had on flip-flops. He had on flip-flops and socks. And that old man sprinted back to the door, okay, of the flea market.
Uh-huh.
He sprinted, not jogged, he sprinted.
Yeah.
And he grabbed the door because it's almost like he didn't even want me to touch it. He beat me to the door because I was walking.
Uh-huh.
So he grabs the door. He opens it up. I have maybe about another 15, 20 steps before I even get to the door to go inside. And as he's standing there holding the door, he starts bowing up and down again, bowing up and down, bowing up and down. Yeah. So, of course, I put my hand across my heart, nodded my head, said thank you and peace, and just walked on in. Now, what that was about at the time, I didn't know. You know, I just knew that I was coming into the knowledge of us being Moors. And that even goes deeper because when I was in Dominican Republic, going through the mystery systems down there, I learned from a child by the name of Catherine, who was coming home fresh from school, and she told me, she said, "You want to know what I learned at school today?" I said, "What's that, Catherine?" She said, "Well, my teacher told me Moors are the original people of the Americas and that they own the land." Wow. And my mouth fell on the ground. Now, I wasn't even down there looking for no Moorish history. I was down there getting initiated, okay?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Uh-huh.
So, and when she told me, she had this look on her face. Now that when I think back and look at it, it was a look of, do you know who you are? You know, she had this look on her face as if to ask me verbally, do I know who I am? Of course, at that time, you know, I'm under the teachings and studies of my great-grandmother, which what I was raised with in the house. You know what I'm saying? You know, we not black. We're not from Africa. What they call black Indian. Mama's great-grandmama, Eliza Gibson, Apache. This is who we are. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So all my life, I've been, you know, identifying as black Indian in my tribe. Uh-huh. You see what I'm saying? But I didn't come into the Moorish knowledge until, like, around about the late 90s, going into the 2000s, but I never equated that until, you know, I heard Todd around about 2005, and then it was confirmed when I was about well over 1,000 miles away out the country by that child, by that young girl. Wow. That's when I came back and actually done some due diligence. I mean, yeah, you hear it over here, you know, but when you go somewhere else, another land, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In America, and you hear it from a child who's getting taught this in school, it has a different effect.
Wow. Yeah.
Totally different effect. You know, because
I can
that's
relate
a child.
to that to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. She was only like 12 years old, 12 going on 13 years old. So what need would she have? What agenda would she have to tell me that?
Uh-huh.
You know, 1,000+ miles away. Yeah. So, you know, back to Donald Trump and everything that I said.
Before you hit on Trump, man, and I know people that's listening probably like, what? Let him get on Trump. Man, I can relate to that, man. When we were living in Brazil, we lived there for about 5 years. One of my sons was in school, and in the school books, they had the actual Brazilian history books. They're calling the indigenous in that book Negros de Terra, Negros de Terra, right? Yeah. Negroes of the land.
Negroes of the land.
Indians that came to the school were just like regular, you know, Moors, or, you know, they call us blacks. You know what I'm saying? They just look like me and you. Yeah. You know? And, I mean, I've seen it, and it was just a known fact. We talked to a school teacher there, had long dreadlocks, dark skin. She lived on an island, and she was saying, yeah, she's indigenous. You know, and I told her, my granddad told me we're Blackfoot Indians. We're indigenous Americans, too. You know, Taino and Arawak. And we, you know, telling her the same, and she's like, wow, you know, people that look like us don't usually know that. So we connected with, you know, our brothers and sisters over there in Brazil, and they're on the same tip.
Yeah.
And
I
just
remember,
like us, keeping the knowledge going orally,
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when you left. I want to say you left around about 2007, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2008? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. I saw it on Facebook because he was
Yeah.
telling me about it. Yeah, I remember when you went down there.
Yes.
Not Facebook, but MySpace. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so it's literally from like the tip of America, South America, all the way up, through North America, indigenous people that look like us, and even some still that's keeping and holding to the traditions, and even some that's still recognized by the government.
Yeah.
The local governments in the different nations.
So
that's wild, and I go ahead and back on up and let you go in on Trump. I just wanted to add to what you were saying.
Yeah, so Trump, being if he is a Mason, and even if he's not a Mason, I'm throw that in. He's briefed on these things. He's briefed on everything that's going on in the common population of the people. So he knows. He knows about the movement. He's been made aware of the history. And if he's a Mason, he has a deeper understanding of it. So he knows the 14th Amendment. He knows the political subterfuge surrounding the 14th Amendment. He's not going to put it out there and just say it was not ratified. He can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
For him to do that, he will upset banking. And we'll go into that as well. But he's basically saying, guess what? You don't need it. Well, those who were listening to my live, what was that, Wednesday night? If you go into the OneDrive, as a matter of fact, you got access right there. Let's pull it up and talk about it. Go to my website real quick.
All right.
And I'm gonna guide you to the PDF.
Okay.
When you get on the home page, scroll down to Project Wamp Code, Weapons of Mass Color Law Destruction.
Okay, which document?
Click under link 3, Citizenship Question Document.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm there.
And it says, look for a PDF that says Pure Study. 14th Amendment.
14th Amendment, okay.
Yeah, Pure Study.
Okay, I have it.
Now that you have that up, you see the Georgia State Archives document.
Yeah, I have it right now in front of me. Okay.
Okay, you have the Library of Congress document, which was 1967. They read it into the record about the fraud of the 14th Amendment. Okay, after that set of pages of that document, then you have the Georgia State Archives document, which talks about the fraud of the 14th Amendment. And Georgia wasn't the only one that put that into their state record. Louisiana did it too.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if you go past that, you will see Constitutional Law, reprinted from Case Law, Volume 6.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. Yeah.
Okay. Scroll down. Scroll past the page to where you see page 117. It's actually subsection 117, but they have it written in the book like it's page 117. And it's going to start out with the section that you want to look for. It says generally.
Yeah, effective unconstitutional statutes. Okay.
Yeah, read that where it says general. And start, read all the down so people can know.
Okay, general principles. Then we have protection of rights under unconstitutional laws. Effective criminal cases, and then validation of unconstitutional statutes.
Yeah, keep going, but scroll past that. You're looking at the table of contents, right?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. Go down because I got the actual pages in there.
Okay, hang on a second.
And you'll see it says it started the heading is generally.
Yeah. Okay. I'm there. Okay, yeah, let me scroll to that page. Hang on a second. This is Scott versus Sanford.
No.
Okay.
No, you should be. It says generally where it says about the general rule about unconstitutional statute. Yeah, it's in that body of pages in the body of constitutional law. It's at 117 at the bottom.
All right.
Do you see it?
No, I don't see it on here. I'm on the last page.
No. Are you in the PDF that's 14th Amendment Pure Study?
Yeah, I'm in the same PDF. Yeah, it's got 22 pages.
Yeah, that's it. That's 22 pages. Just scroll back up. Just look at the bottom of the pages and look for 117.
Okay, yeah. Nah, I scrolled past it. Sorry. Okay, here we are. General principles. All right, hang on a second. I'm going to read this. All right. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law, but is wholly void, and in legal contemplation is an inoperative as if it had never passed. Since an unconstitutional law is void, it imposes no duties and confers no power or authority on anyone. It affords protection to no one, and no one is bound to obey it, and no courts are bound to enforce it. When a judgment of any court is based on an unconstitutional law, it has been said that it has no legitimate basis at all and is not to be treated as a judgment of a competent tribunal. And courts of other states are not required to give it the full faith and credit commanded by the provisions of the United States Constitution as to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of other states. An unconstitutional law cannot operate to supersede any existing valid law, and accordingly, where a clause repealing a prior law is inserted in an act, which act is unconstitutional and void, the provision for the repeal of prior laws will fall with it and will not be permitted to operate as repealing such prior laws. A contract which rests on an unconstitutional statute is void and creates no obligation to be impaired by subsequent legislation. These general principles apply to the constitutions as well as to the laws of the several states insofar as they are repugnant to the Constitution and laws of the United States. And then that's section 117.
Okay. Now go to 118.
Okay.
It's right after that.
Yeah. Protection of rights under unconstitutional laws. The general rule is that an unconstitutional act of the legislature protects no one. Duh. Yeah. It is said that all persons are presumed to know the law, meaning that ignorance of the law excuses no one. Consequently, if any person acts under an unconstitutional statute, the general rule is that he does so at his peril and must take the consequences. It has been declared that an unconstitutional act cannot operate to create an office, and any department of government exceeding the limits of its constitutional power acts wholly without authority and can confer no authority on others. But this doctrine is not enforced rigorously, and it is generally recognized that until a statute has been declared unconstitutional, it is sufficient to confer on an officer acting under it such color of title as will constitute him an officer de facto. Whether an unconstitutional act of the legislator is sufficient to form okay, we cut off right there.
Yeah, if you want the rest of it, you can go to the book. The book is in OneDrive, Constitutional Law. Yeah, I just took those excerpts from the book. But that says that if you're operating under an unconstitutional statute or law, and within that 22-page PDF, I have the 14th Amendment statute in there as well, so people can see that it was put in statutorily. So it tells you that right there, you do so at your own peril.
Yeah.
If you want to try to enforce fraud, then guess what? You get the consequences and repercussions of it. Now, that's the rule book that the courts go by, that the judges go by. They know this already. Mm-hmm. The Constitutional Law, reprinted from Case Law Volume 6, was published 1915. And right after that, I have American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Second Edition, subsection 195, which says the same thing as subsection 117 in Constitutional Law, Volume 6. 102 years later, and that was in American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Second Edition, subsection 195, was published in 2017. So 102 years later, the knowledge and the information and the rule is still applied. Wow. You see where I'm going with this in regards to the 14th Amendment?
Yes.
So everything that they have predicated, all the contracts are dead. The birth certificate, dead. Social Security card, dead. Passport, dead. Driver's license, dead. All of them are dead. They're dead contracts because they're all adhesion contracts based on the 14th Amendment, which we now know is fraud and which was never validly adopted according to the various clauses of adoption of how amendments are made in the Constitution for the United States of America, 1787. So that lets you know they've been operating in fraud now 150 years.
Yeah.
They've been pushing this fraud for 150 years, 1868, 2018. So this is the reason why I tell the people to get those documents under seal, because the moment you present it under seal, it falls under Rules of Evidence 902. Wow. And it shows that, hey, all of this is fraud. And because you're forcing this on me under threat, duress, and coercion, that I have a right to sue you. Because you're creating a hindrance and an undue burden on me, which is not supported by law.
Yeah.
So you have some Moors out there, who call themselves scholars of jurisprudence, and supposedly they won all of these cases and things of that nature, pushing the 14th Amendment. Wow. I'm not gonna embarrass them, but they're pushing it. Wow. And if they listen to this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. But that's a fraud. So you're telling our people to go with the fraud. So do you have to go into a court to declare your nationality and to adopt your title, your blood-born title? No, you don't. Noble Drew Ali didn't have to do that. He told you about the 14th Amendment. It was unnecessary. Yeah. You just got to be who you are. That's it. Be who you are and proclaim it and let the world know. Because anything that's coursing through your veins that you have a blood birthright to, no man can stand in the way of it anyway. The author of the blood is the Most High Creator of the heavens and earth, whom I call Yahweh Uludumare Amen Allah. Whatever is yours by blood, you don't have to ask anybody for permission, to take possession of it. It's yours automatically. It's a blood birthright. So Trump knows all of these things. Only thing he's actually doing is just making the record of him disavowing that portion, but it was already disavowed ab initio. Mm-hmm. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he knows this. He's been knowing this, and if he's a Mason, he knows the history of the so-called Negro, Black, Colored, African American, Latino, and these various other misnomers that they have us classified as. Mm-hmm. He already knows that. He's just basically, making a public statement. But it's already been disavowed. It was disavowed by the Georgia General Assembly, the Louisiana General Assembly, and the Congressional Record. Read into the record.
Yeah.
Now, he just can't come out and say, the 14th Amendment, was never ratified. He can't do that. He'll put himself in jeopardy. Why? Because all banking currently is hinged on the 14th Amendment. Yeah. It's hinged on you being a citizen, or what is assumed to be that you are a citizen. And not only that, that you cannot question the federal debt, meaning that whoever the United States owes, his citizens cannot question. Mm-hmm. So that, as you can see, the bankers have a keen interest in keeping that fraud going with the 14th Amendment. Because you can never come up and question, hey, where's my gold? Where's my silver? Hey, where's my full rights to payment in regards to the labor that is extracted from me at these corporations, as well as these state and federal corporations? Why is DHS and all these various other child trafficking agencies able to come into my home and take my children. You know, all of that is predicated on keeping the fraud of the 14th Amendment alive. And Donald Trump knows that.
Yeah.
So that right there is one of the reasons he's making his decision on what they call birthright citizenship. Now, let's talk about the migrants for a minute. The migrants have a right. They already have a birthright citizenship to the Americas. Borders are man-made. The Most High Creator of the heavens and earth didn't make borders, imaginary lines. What was allowed according to the laws of the Most High Creator of the heavens and earth, Yahweh Oludamare Amen Allah, within what we call the 42 laws of Mayat, which is also known as later transcribed in what was called the Mosaic Code, is landmarks and boundary stones. That's what's allowed and permissible to say what land or whose land this is via the landmark of the boundary stone. Well, all of those people, man, are from, Amaruca, and so they have a right, if they want to travel from the south to the north, they have a right to come in on the land. Why? Because the whole land belongs to them as well. But there's one problem. They're traveling under a colorable status because all of those so-called nations that they traveled from were incorporated, on the landmass known as Amaruca, which was first claimed by Hanno the Navigator through annexation from the north to the south. So they're traveling colorably, and they're traveling under ignorance of the law. You see what I'm saying? Which it excuses no one. So the sad part about it is a lot of them will suffer due to their ignorance. But if we go back to Hosea, the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, it says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge."
So Moorish American nationality would apply to them too as well, like Hondurans, Belizeans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it would. Because
go ahead.
Yes, because they're born within the dominions of the empire. And not only that, if we were to do a DNA test, a lot of them are going to come up with the old-type blood, with the Paleo-American Negroid coursing through their veins, as well as the Proto-Mongoloid as well. So a lot of those people are dark as you and I, if not darker.
Yeah.
They're our cousins. So yes, it would apply to them. But they're stuck up underneath their corporate inception, just like our people up here are stuck up underneath the fraud of the 14th Amendment.
Yeah. Would you say that the various temples should be sealing these documents and filing suit?
The temple can file suit. They can file suit off of Chapter 47, supported by Prince Uriel Bey's documents of what he put in at the Library of Congress, and I have those documents on my website as well, showing who are the de jure owners of the land. And that's why Noble Drali told you don't get rid of your Bible. Why? Because the Quran, what he said, the great Quran of Muhammad of Mecca, where if you read the Quran confirms the prophets of the Old Testament, and it also confirms the teachings of Isa, or Yeshua HaMashiach. So can they file suit? Yes, they can. Because they're making decisions, because these corporations called states are making decisions on property that they don't own.
Yeah.
The state, the original de jure state, and I've gone back through the United States statutes at large and saw the statutory inception and creation of these various states. And if you look in there, it's spelled according to the proper rules of English grammar, upper and lower case, proper noun. Okay? What they have now are admiralty maritime de facto corporations under military jurisdiction. So they are not the real state. And all you have to do to find that out is go and read Government Printing Office Writing Style Guide. I have in the language folder in the OneDrive, I have 2008 version and 2016 version. And it tells you that. It tells you how proper nouns are supposed to be addressed. And we're talking about a person, a place, or a thing. So if it's not spelled according to that, then what exactly is it? It's not the organic land mass of the statutory created trusteeship, what we call today a state, which is a subsidiary of the usufruct known as the United States. So what exactly are we dealing with? We're dealing with a maritime corporation under military admiralty jurisdiction. And all of this is in their stuff. This is their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not making any of this up. People can go and read it and do their own due diligence. I have it in the OneDrive, you know. So with that being stated, yes, the temple can sue. The temple can sue. You know, but they have to come in as who they are in regards, you know, to the land. And not only that, use Prince Uriel Bey's document as well as genetic blood birthright. That's why I'm a proponent for genetic. Because once the blood is on the table, there's really nothing else to be said. You know, and you can charge them with fraud because, then let's just think about it. What you read earlier under Constitutional Law, reprinted for Case Law, Volume 6, subsection 117, it said that any tribunal that made a judgment on an unconstitutional ruling on an unconstitutional act or statute as if it is legitimate, what did it call that tribunal? It called them incompetent.
Yep.
Did it not say that?
Yeah.
Now, how many cases?
Competent tribunal, yep.
Yeah, so if you're incompetent, that means you're not fit to do the job. You're not even fit man to even be heard from. So how many cases have the Supreme Court of the United States made in regards to the 14th Amendment?
Wow, yeah.
That means your highest court in the land is incompetent.
Wow.
It's incompetent. And if you have not gone back to correct the errors of the former representatives of that higher court, you're operating on incompetence.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the pushback would be from bringing this, to light?
You want my honest opinion?
Sure, go ahead.
Killings, murder.
Yeah.
Murder. Because you can't stand against the black and white. You see it for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's written right there. So, being that it would upset the flow of economics, because the whole economic system is predicated on that fraud, murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the court, they couldn't take it into a court and do anything with it. All of the courts have used the 14th Amendment, so they're deemed incompetent. Every last one of them. Mm-hmm. They're deemed incompetent. So more than likely it would be murder. And how do we know that? There's a case. It's called the Jerome Daly versus First National Bank of Montgomery. I think that's the name of it. Mm-hmm. 1969. The Credit River Township decision, and it was done by a justice of the peace. And they had a jury and everything. And there was a guy who was an attorney who was going against the bank, and he had challenged the bank on the fraud of the loan. Mm-hmm. Well, he ended up winning the case, even though it was done by a justice of the peace, but the justice of the peace made his ruling based upon the Constitution. And the thing dealing with the Fort gold and silver and all of that type of stuff is a pretty interesting case. But by him making that ruling, he was killed 6 months later. The judge was.
Wow.
They killed him. Yeah. They found his body in a lake, shot full of poison.
Wow.
Yeah, they killed him. and then they got the case into the I think the federal district court, and they overturned the case, and Jerome Daly was disbarred. But this is what we're dealing with, man. These people do not deal with law. I tell them I tell people that all the time. The democracy doesn't deal with law. Hell, they don't even have a constitution. The democracy doesn't have a constitution. You can't adopt the Constitution for the United States of America. Why? Because democracy is not written anywhere in it. You got to go by the letter of the law in regards to the contract. Mm-hmm. So they try to say a democratic republic. No, you can't say that because that's not part of the terms, conditions, stipulation, and agreement of the contract known as Constitution for the United States of America. Mm-hmm. It's in black and white. It's a republic. So no matter how you try to spin it, they don't have a constitution. Mm-hmm. So they operate by what they call the law of the gun. And there's a maxim of law, Bouvier's Dictionary of Law, 1856, that states, laws are silent amidst arms. I'll say it again. Laws are silent amidst arms. Basically what they're saying is, yeah, I see the law and I know what it says, but I got this pistol, so who's the law?
Yeah, it's how it's run, man.
You know?
Yeah. Wow.
And then you got these people running around screaming that, this is a democracy. You can't do that, fool. You just keep giving them power. You speak your power away. You talking your power away. So they abolished the 14th Amendment. Let's say they go ahead and abolish the 14th Amendment in regards to birthright citizenship. Well, you can't grandfather a fraud. You can't go back and say these group of people, except for these people born in, you cannot predicate a clause on a fraud. If it's void ab initio, you have nothing to anchor it on. So now what is that going to do? For Europeans, Caucasians, they're calling themselves white. Well, white was a British Parliament statutory creation shortly after Bacon's Rebellion. So they don't even know that they're putting themselves right back up underneath the crown. They're putting themselves right back up underneath the crown. Black was a British Parliament statutory creation as well. Mm-hmm. So by these people using these terms, they don't even realize, man, that you're calling yourself crown property. So that means you have to have a nationality. Europeans, they got to have a nationality. But they're scared of nationality because why? Because it's going to tell exactly where you're from. Not just American, no, Scottish American, Irish American, Italian American, Danish American, Norwegian American, Swedish American, et cetera, English American, So you're going to have a nationality. The only ones who are the de jure people of the land would be those that's called Moors. Now, those that want to stay Indian, they try to say, well, we was Indians before we was Moors. I see that foolish argument as well. They need to learn Latin and read the Dum Diversas, because I pointed that out several times on Facebook too. Indian comes from Latin "sine Dios," meaning without God. In Spanish, it's called Los Indios, the godless. Later on, shortened to Indios, but and later on, anglicized to Indian. But its inception is "sine Dios," Latin, without God.
Wow. So
that's in the Dum Diversas and the Romanus Pontifex and all of those type things. That's why it said when you go to these lands, they said they're to be treated as heathens because they're "sine Dios," they're without God. Now it tells you why a lot of our people, our ancestors, were put to the sword when the Spanish came over here. Mm-hmm. They were carrying out the Romanus Pontifex and the Dum Diversas. Reduce them to slavery. They have no rights to property. Do with them as you will because they're outside of the grace of God. Yeah. Paper bull. So, "sine Dios" to "los Indios," to Indios to Indians. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for everybody out there that's, trying to claim that tribal status and run with it, I mean, I hope you're listening.
All of this should be linguistically researched and confirmed. Of course, you have to have some understanding of that.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think the Most High created the heavens and earth. That my mom, she made the sacrifice, to send me to private school where that was part of my education, Latin 1 and 2. I took that for 2 years.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
So, it's best if you're going to go with anything is to align yourself, you solely, with the claim of Hanno.
Mm-hmm.
Because they put landmarks all over this place, man. Punic, Iberian, Canaanite, Phoenician, Carthaginian. The Phoenicians were nothing but a conglomerate of the Ugarites, Southern Hittites, Moabites, Amorites, those people in the Eastern Mediterranean who became very good at seafaring.
Mm-hmm.
They later, the Canaanites. Later on, they became known as the Carthaginians, Carthagis. They founded Carthage. Okay, Carthage later on settled Iberia. They became known as the Punic Iberians. Punic comes from Tunisium. Tunisium is nothing but Phoenician. Same group of people who later on colonized Morocco as early as the Phoenician expedition and had annexed it underneath their later kinsmen or their later descendants, the Carthaginians. So Morocco came out of that empire. They're a trust baby. They are a trust baby in regards to the land. If anybody know about a trust fund baby, that's what Morocco is. It's a trust fund baby. They inherited the land of their heirs or the interests of their heirs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you solely can never supersede you sanguinis. We've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, as you saw earlier in the conversation. I walked you all the way down from millions of years all the way down to 40,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? So, you solely can never supersede you sanguinis. You solely operates in regards to nations and empires as they go into other lands who actually, man, has a claim on this land. So that's how those calling themselves Indians really need to do their research to protect themselves. No, it's not disavowing you of you sanguinis heritage. That's in your blood.
Yeah.
But for your international protection, when you're dealing with other nations or nation-like constructs, you need to protect yourself in a nation-like manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people are missing out on that, what you just said.
Yeah. So, and who's the trust fund baby? Morocco.
Yeah. Wow.
People say, well, we stay away from the Bible and all of that. That's not wise either, because nobody said don't throw away those Bibles. I mean, you can condemn the government. Well, if you look at the Pontotoc stele that was found in Oklahoma, just west of me, Pontotoc stele has Psalms 1. It has almost an exact transcription. In regards to translation, I think it's a Psalms 102 or 104 in the Bible.
Wow. And
I posted
a list over here with Hebrew in it. I believe they found
it
right here. Wow, man, in Ohio.
Man, this place is marked up.
Yeah.
It is marked up. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
The land, if you want to get straight with it, the land is tatted up.
Yeah.
Tatted up.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's from here to South America, South America.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Pontotoc stele says when Baal rises in the east, talking about the sun, the animals or the beasts are pleased. And when Baal hides his face, it said they're displeased. You got to go in there and read.
Pontotoc stele, can you spell that?
Yeah, Pontotoc stele, Pontotoc, stele. Yeah, P is in Papa, O is in Oscar, N is in November, T is in Tango, O is in Oscar, T is in Tango, O is in Oscar, C is in Charlie. Yeah, Pontotoc, Stele. S is in Sierra, T is in Tango, E is in Echo, L is in Lima, E is in Echo.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And it's around about 1000 BC. Approximately, I think the age that Stele is about 1000 BC. So about, what's that, about 3,000 some years ago.
Yeah, you said that was in Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
And it has a Bay and M on it.
Yeah, Bayel. When Bayel rises in the east.
Wow.
Yep. They also have Anubis caves there in the panhandle of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cave of Anubis Cave.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
about
which starts the summer solstice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the various solstice points. It has Argham script too, which is another one of our ancient writings, Argham script. So go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just asked when you're done.
So basically, that's how you need to put yourself underneath those international protections in regards to use solely. Where still does, people say, well, you are more, you're negating your tribe. No, I'm not. I'm still Nadine, I'm still, Chata, Chickasaw, Shikasha, Wishashakun, and Aniyanwi. It's not negating my tribes. I know who I am. But I understand the land claim and the protections because I understand how it went in regards to the days of the Bible when Rome had conquered Israel and Caesar ordered a census. He told them to send a census throughout the land, for the people to be counted. So Yeshua, when he had come of age, he had gone back in and told his people, man, don't forget, man, we're the Israelites. We're the house of Israel. Yeah, you and Rome may be over our land right now, but you're not Roman. You don't do as they do. You're Israelite. So you Soli, Yeshua HaMashiach, he was born underneath the jurisdiction of the Roman Empire. He would be Roman, but you sang with us, he was a Israelite Moabite.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's where we are today. You Soli, we're Punic, Iberian, Carthaginian, Phoenician, Canaanite, Trust Fund, Baby, Moroccan. That's who we are. You sang with us, we're the various tribes. And even older than that, because when you go to the languages of these tribes, a lot of them have a Canaanite, Paleo-Hebrew linguistic stock, and various other stocks too. Arabic, some West African dialects. Yeah. But to go even older than that, now you're looking at the Melanesians, the Papuans, the Orangasli, the Malays, the Atars, the Jarawa, the Mons, and those various Southeast Asian and Oceanian peoples that had come over here around about 70,000 years ago. But like I said, we've been on the land far older than that, and I've walked you all the way down 3.5 million years ago, 5 million years ago, down in South America. So, this is a deep, in-depth understanding of you sanguinus and you soli. Yeah. So, but go ahead though, brother.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your
You might have started something earlier when you said Fez stories, because it's something that we could all relate to. There's so many things that we experience. When people see us in our true nature, like see us.
Yeah.
For real, like we've all been through a lot of stuff that confirms it even further in our minds of who we are. But what I was gonna ask, we might have to run that back at another date, man. Just go in on that. But what I was going to ask is, like, what are your thoughts on the 2020 census that's coming up? They're talking about how they're going to let black and white people basically go further in on who they are, describing who they are, instead of just putting black and white. So what are your thoughts on that?
They're basically telling them they want you to proclaim your nationality. They're going to have to do away with that 14th Amendment, man. if they don't get rid of the 14th Amendment, the national debt is going to continue to rise. The national debt is directly hinged on the 14th Amendment through the federal debt as authorized by the law shall not be questioned. If they don't get rid of the 14th Amendment, the national debt will continue to rise until it breaks the back of the corporate structure. If they do disavow the 14th Amendment based on fraud, all contracts hinged on that fraud go away as well. The debt disappears automatically.
Yeah.
Automatically. Now we have to go into equity. Okay, the law says that this was fraud ab initio, so therefore the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and all of that is void ab initio. It's void. All right. The Fed may say, well, we gave you money. Now the equity side kicks in. What money?
Yeah.
You gave me credit. You didn't give me any gold and silver. As a matter of fact, you robbed me. You stole the gold and silver. Mm-hmm. Let's account for it. Let's open up the vaults of the Federal Reserve Bank in New York and see, do you have the people's gold? Which, of course, they don't. It's gone. Yeah. You know, Fort Knox is gone. You know. Mm-hmm. So now the equity side kicks in. If the Fed tries to enforce the debt through equity, you never gave anything in the first place. So to even get equity, maximum law says he who wants equity must do equity. He who receives equity must do equity. And not only that, it says you got to come with clean hands. And it says a worker of iniquity shall not receive equity. So a worker of evil can't receive equity. A wrongdoing can't receive equity. There's no equity in wrongdoing. So the Fed is just, they'll be lost. There'll be a lost cause. But in order to save and try to return to the Republic, there's a couple of things that has to happen first. They got to destroy that 14th Amendment. That's number one. And then number two, they owe a big apology to about 60 million of our people whom they placed underneath that 14th Amendment, and they was able to get them there through the Confiscation Act of 1861 in the Dred Scott versus Sanford case. You know, let their man get their remedy by proclaiming their nationality. Then they have to pay the empire what they owe. And they have to pay, the empire has to pay the American Aborigine for what it owes through its collection as trusteeship from the United States of America. So there's a couple of factors that have to happen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
14th Amendment needs to be destroyed. That wipes out the federal debt. Okay? Mm-hmm. The Republic needs to do a formal apology for what it did to our people, robbing them of their nationality and deceiving them through material misrepresentation, false misrepresentation, underneath the illusion of that 14th Amendment as being citizens, because we still suffered under Jim Crow. Okay? Let them return back to Egypt of the West, as Abraham Lincoln has stated in his speech, which is nothing but returning back to who you are in regards to being the de jure owners of the land. We call it Egypt of the West because of all the mounds. Okay? Then pay the empire, who King Muhammad VI is still currently trustee of, though people don't want to acknowledge it. Well, that's the kingdom. It has nothing to do with over here. Morocco built the first church on the land, okay? Mm-hmm. At Kookaponsit Forest, Connecticut. Y'all heard me talk about this several times. Yeah. Around about 450 to 480 AD. And also, man, the Bible was brought over here. More than likely, it was an Ethiopian Coptic Bible. But the land is known as Askel Shemal. It's in Hajj Mamoun Rock in Pickwick, Morocco, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're the trustees of this land as it received from the Carthaginian Empire. So they would have to make restitution to the king for him to pay us over here. They have to operate as the true trust was established. And they have to also, man, pay back everything that they owe since 1787. So they're about 231 years behind in payments.
Yeah.
231 years behind. And they have to also account for the inflationary. They have to account for the inflationary adjustment rate. Yeah.
So you're saying, like, with the 2020 census, this is kind of like preparation for the abolishment or the doing away of the whole 14th Amendment.
In my opinion, it would seem so.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And, man, I just want to take a second to remind everyone to go to obashangol.com, OBASHANGOL.com. Definitely check out his OneDrive. I've never seen anything like this. Like, the brother put in a lot of work. It's a library, basically, with all types of documents. And library, it's basically filled with books and information pertaining to us, documents, templates, for how to proclaim your nationality. And, I mean, it's just like a lot of work and research went into this. So it's got everything pertaining to Moorish Americans on there. And if I'm leaving anything out, of course, you can correct me. But I think everybody needs to check that out. And also give the brother a donation because he put in a lot of work. So you need to go there, go to the OneDrive, and also hit that donation button on the site. And, you didn't have anything further to say. I wanted to ask you another question.
No, you hit the head on the site, and I do appreciate your visiting my site and my donations as well. I really thank you, people.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you something. I was just looking at the one of the files that you have on there. If you're on the obashangol.com site, there's a file on there. It's codenamed the Kraken. And one of them, I'm just looking at it right now. And when you were going in, you were talking about that Alabama senator who, I think Scott Beeson, like a couple years back, we got the, media-friendly version of what went down where there was like a FBI sting, and he slipped up and referred to the African Americans, as aborigines or aboriginals. Okay? And, we just got the glossed-over version of that, but come to find out, you did a little research. The brother had a degree in geology,
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you could go in on that for the people that's listening.
Yeah, of course, that's the study of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. His background was in geology before he became a senator. But before I do that, let me say this: on that 2020 census, people need to understand exactly what they're doing because they're letting you self-identify. So make sure you self-identify correctly. If you're born within the dominion of the Canaanite, Phoenician, Carthaginian, Punic, Iberian, Almoroccan Empire, you are Usoli Moor, or what they call what they would call a Moroccan Moor, not the Kingdom of Morocco. And if it's going to allow you to explain, then you can put that. You can put indigenous Moor, indigenous American Moor, because they already know that this is according to the treaty. When they were putting the treaty together in 1787, they kept calling the people Marican. Yeah, they was putting that in the treaty. You can go to Yale University Law Library and read the treaty and all of the documentation associated with it. They was calling you Marican, basically the people of, America or Morocco, Marican. So you need to make sure that you mark it right. We are indigenous American Moors. We're not African Americans. We're not Negro. That's an adjective, a Spanish adjective at that. We're not black. That's an English adjective. We're indigenous American Moors. Yep. Even American by itself, contrary to popular belief, is an adjective. Sub or pertaining to the Americas. Wow. So this is what we are, indigenous American Moors. And if you want to go even deeper into your tribes, you can put your tribal affiliation. If they're going to allow you to self-identify and if you got enough room to write that. If not, you can have a document already prepared up and give it to the census taker. But in my opinion, if you have your own clan, tribe, nation, or whatever, you should be doing your own census if your status is correct as a Moor.
Yes.
Because that census is attached to, quote unquote, the democracy. The democracy is counting its heads of cattle. That's what it's doing. It's like a farmer counting heads of cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have your own clan, tribe, nation, you should be taking your own census for your own record.
Yeah.
And then if what you want to do is draft up a document to show, hey, this is the census of who we are, then you can send that to the Census Department. So they'll have a copy of it. You don't necessarily have to fill out their census. How do I know? Because I didn't do it in 2010. I wrote the head of the Census Department, which I think came under the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce or something like that. One of them, I can't remember. It was in 2010 when I wrote them. And when the census taker had come back, because I told him I'm not signing that. That has nothing on there dealing with me.
Yeah.
I'm an indigenous American war, man. I descend from mound builders.
Mm-hmm.
When I wrote the head, I sent the correspondence there. I told them if I'm incorrect, I said this document is fraud. I told them why it's fraud. And I said if I'm incorrect, please respond within 10 days, 10 working days, business days.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no response. So when the census taker came back, I gave him a copy of the correspondence, all of the mail evidence and everything, and I said, take this to your census leader up there in Morrison and let them know. Never heard from him again.
Yeah.
That was the end of it.
Wow.
So, you should be doing your own census. But if you're an individual out there and you're just now coming into the knowledge and you're not confident enough on drafting these writs and everything and you're just waking up to who you are, then if you want to fill it out, make sure you do it correctly and, man, putting yourself here. Here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, connecting you to the land, yeah.
Connecting you to the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's under use solely. You can do that because you're born here. So, now as far as you sanguineous, that gets into genetics and DNA and all of that. But you're born here. So, now back to Scott Beeson. If you have a degree in geology and you worked out in the field, your sister or your companion studies are paleontology, archaeology, things of that nature. So there's going to be some crosstalk.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some crosstalk in regards to these different fields or what was found and who found what. Not only that, he's a senator. Not only that, more than likely probably a Mason.
Yeah.
So he knows. And what had happened was he let a Masonic secret slip.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. So I'm quite sure he's found arrowheads, spear point, all of these type of things, in Alabama, and had them dated. Hey, I found this, man. Hey, while I was out in the field doing some work, can you take a look at that? Yeah, sure, I'll look at it. They take it to the lab. They do their study. Hey, man, what you found was 30,000 years old, 40,000 years old. So he already knows that, okay, these people that they're calling Indians, Mongoloid stock, weren't even over here then, So he's able to logically deduce who we are.
Yeah.
And he has access to his Masonic Lodge library that has pictures of us, when they first saw us when we came over here,
Mm-hmm.
very melanated, things of that nature. So he knew we were Aborigine. He just wasn't supposed to go public with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because for you to do that, now you're bringing up a land ownership issue. And we lose power.
Yeah.
If these people wake up on a massive scale as to who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they burned him. That's why they chastised him like they did.
Yeah. And I've seen that just from being out, I've seen on more than one occasion with Shriners, or people who've been in the lodge for a long time actually have some knowledge of European descent. They'll speak openly when they see that you're a Moor,
Yeah.
and because they can't speak about it to anyone else.
Nope.
Especially not out of the lodge. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
The sword is over their head.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And Yeah, if I may, I have a question from somebody online, Aaron Thomas Bey. He asked if you could speak more on Prince Uriel Bey's life, like his life works, and the nation or the organization. I bought the Consecrated Talisman pretty much off of your recommendation, and I haven't had a chance to really dig into it yet. But if you could, please go in on that and maybe let everyone know why this is important or why the documents within it are important, maybe why every Moor should have a copy.
Okay. First and foremost, man, I want to give honors to, Noble Drew Ali, who brought us, the reminder of who we are, you solely, as well as, reminding us, hey, you have a nationality. I want to give honors to Esteemed Bey. I want to give honors to Empress Verdiasi. I want to give honors to Prince Uriel Bey. I think ultimately, I don't really know the inner workings of the Kingdom of Edmortium like that. Prince Uriel Bey's knowledge was brought to me back in, I want to say, the spring of 2012. And it was brought to me by a good friend named Uriel Bey. And he said that, man, you remind me of the Prince. I said, well, who's the Prince? The guy that uses a lot of Latin in his work. He said, man, I'll be looking at your document. And he said, you have Latin maxims and all of that. It's this, that, and the third. And, he said, man, your work is very similar. I never heard of him. So I said, well, is he on YouTube? He said, yeah, he has some stuff on YouTube. So he sent me a video, and I watched it. I was very impressed, man. And over the years, I didn't even know at the time he had any books out in 2012. I wasn't, made aware of that till much later. But when I had gotten his books, a friend of mine that sent me some documents, another friend of mine, Tata Chad, Uriel Bey, him and Prince Uriel Bey was very, very close. He's very close, and he sent me some of his works, prior to publishing. And because he said the same thing. He said, man, you remind me of the Prince. And I said, well, who is the Prince? Prince who? He said, Prince Uriel Bey. I said, oh, yeah, I heard of him. I said, a friend of mine, Brother Uriel Bey, turned me on to him back in 2012. He said, man, every time I hear you speak Latin, he said, I hear the Prince. I started laughing. So he said, I'm going to send you something. So he sent me some things, and I read it, and I was blown away. After that, I had to have his work. But the importance of what Prince Uriel Bey did was he was able to go into those languages and place the born stone and do the geodetic survey by blood birthright or by genetic lineage, genealogy of who descended from who, what nation came out of what nation. And when he connected that to the born stone, and and if you go into the OneDrive and you go into the anthropological, archaeological folder, like the first folder, there's a newspaper article I have from 1975 by Barry Fell and another epigrapher where they was able to translate what was on the born stone, and they attributed it to Hanno back in 1975. So I have that as part of the OneDrive as well, anthropological, archaeological folder. When I saw that Prince Uriel Bey had done this with the born stone and other landmarks from North to South America, I instantly recognized what he had done in regards to creating a shield, a documentary evidence and evidence in stone, a shield in regards to national identity. Okay. That's why his works are so important, because you can even parallel it with the Bible. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 14, do you have a Bible with you, bro?
Don't have it on hand.
Oh, okay. Well, you got the internet.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 14, Deuteronomy 27:17, Proverbs 22:28, and Proverbs 23:10. And United States Statutes at Large, 96 Stat 1211, Public Law 97-280 in regards to the Bible. you can protect your land interest with the Bible in regards to what Prince Uriel Bey had done, dealing with the landmarks. So that's why his works are very important. And if you read Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10, it says, you shall hallow in the 50th year and proclaim jubilee throughout the land. And you shall return every man unto his possession and every man unto his family. Well, the lawful possession of the land belongs to us. So that's the reason why we need his works, because he put the deed of succession in at the Library of Congress, and which a succession means inheritance to the heir or those in the line of descendancy, and he put that in for the Moors at the Library of Congress Copyright Office, and you can get that, and that's linked directly to that book under TXU 1-123-633. It's in that book on the same page where it talks about Kamasakum Kana Cape Cod Bay and the Born Stone and Hanno's proclamation and annexation, showing that that book, the Consecrated Talisman, is a legal document. And it is also a biblical document. Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you why it's a biblical document. Pull up a page, brother. I'm going to give you something to type.
All right. I'm ready.
Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 14. And when you read it, or when you get it, read it.
All right, hang on 1 second. All right. Do not move your neighbor's boundary stone set up by your predecessors in the inheritance you receive in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess.
Okay. You see, it's talking about boundary stone. Look up Deuteronomy 27:17.
Cursed is anyone who moves their neighbor's boundary stone. Then all the people shall say amen. Mm-hmm.
All right. Look up Proverbs 22:28.
Do not move an ancient boundary stone set up by your ancestors.
Okay. Look up Proverbs 23:10.
All right. Do not move an ancient boundary stone or encroach on the fields of the fatherless.
You see where this is going?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's dealing with land ownership and possession. All right. Now, there's another verse. I can't remember what book it's in, but you can Google these words. Let me give you some keywords to type in. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Type in Israel, boundary stones, pour out the wrath like water. Israel, boundary stones, pour out the wrath like water.
All right. Yeah, Hosea 5:10. Okay.
Read it.
Just a minute. All right. Hang on a second. Sorry, my things go slow. Okay, I will pour out my wrath on them like a flood of water.
Okay. Okay. Read the 5 verse of that.
Yeah. The princes of Judah were like them that removed the landmarks. Therefore, I will pour out my wrath upon them like water.
You see what it's saying?
Uh-huh.
So, how sacred are boundary stones?
It's very sacred. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. You're going to receive the anger. Yeah. The fury.
Thank you. That's why America
Yeah.
Exactly. America's already doomed to fail. Not America, but the usufruct trust, it failed, and the democracy is going to fail. It's doomed to fail. Why? Because they destroyed our mounds.
Yeah.
Which are boundary stones as well, landmarks. And they won't tell the truth about, although they have it in secret, they have the truth written in secret, that the born stone is Carthaginian, Punic Iberian in origin, but they won't tell the truth about who the people are over here that set that stone. We're the ones, our ancestors set that stone, because we had their blood coursing through our veins as well. So what you done was you removed the people. You removed the people from the land. You didn't move the boundary stone, but you removed the people from the boundary stone.
Yeah.
Which is just as guilty. You made us fatherless, as the scriptures say, and motherless. Made us motherless and fatherless.
Exactly.
So there's a wrath coming up on the end that they cannot avoid.
And then hiding the images in front of us. Like, have you ever heard of the Black Pyramid? The Black Pyramid of the Sun? It's a stone like pyramid. It's about 10, 12 inches big. It looks just like the one on the U.S. dollar, on the $1 bill. It was found in Ecuador.
I wrote about it. In 1984.
Okay, so you already up on it. Okay.
I wrote about that in the first. I wrote about that in the first part of the Kraken. I wrote about that in the Kraken part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, that stone pyramid has the 13 steps on it, and then the Eye of Horus at the top, and that was found in Ecuador, and it goes under black light. Then it has a script on it on the bottom that they found all over the world. Yeah,
they say it's pre-Sanskrit, but it's not. I looked at the glyphs. The glyphs are very akin to ancient Canaanite Paleo-Hebrew.
Yeah. There's actually people who translated it. So,
yeah, and not only that, they took it to the Berbers, North Africa, Tamazight, and they was able to read the script.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's correct. So, yeah, it is 2,000 years older than any known civilization down there in South America. Yeah, so I wrote about that in the Kraken part 1 of Pyramid.
So I'm definitely gonna have to check.
Now, C.M. Bey exposed that as the master key of civilization 40 years before they even found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That same pyramid. Yeah. He talked about it 40 years before they even found it in Ecuador.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My homie Aaron Thomas Bey had another question too. Well, it was still in. It looks like it's still in alignment with Prince Uriel Bey, just asking if his nation's society is still operational.
That I don't know. I know there have been people that have been trying to get in touch with them. One of the brothers who was a part of Admorium had reached out to me maybe about 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, somewhere in there, and he was congratulating me on getting some of the works Prince Uriel Bey had put in place for us. He said because the corporate democracy is making it very difficult, man, where people can't even get his works that they filed up there. And there was a Moor who had written into the U.S. Department of State to get a copy of what he filed, and they told him, no, we're not giving it to you.
Wow.
So he commended me on being able to get some of his work. I honestly think, man, that the beloved Prince met with foul play. I think there was foul play. From what I've been able to glean from the situation in regards to his death, it sounds very much like foul play.
Yeah.
Which doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. So with that, information, that's all I can really say about his organization.
Okay.
I do know that he's here in spirit. This I do know. And I was doing some divination and was able to make contact with him.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to make contact with him.
So would you say that the consecrated talisman, like the one that you can get off of Amazon, is there information missing out of that? Like the same homie, he had asked if you know where he could obtain the consecrated talisman of the Moorish American Society of Comprehensive Science. Is that different than the consecrated talisman Salmagundi that you can get on Amazon?
It is. It goes into a little bit. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you ask about that. Mm-hmm. I have to tell you a little bit more about that off line. That's pretty much some private conversation information.
Oh yeah,
but
everything's not for YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say that it is obtainable. It's just very, very, very difficult to obtain if you want it from the Library of Congress Copyright Office.
Okay. Yeah, we can build on that offline. And let's see. I had another question.
The consecrated talisman Salmagundi is a legal document. It says so right on the back of the book, on the back page, and it's a legal document because it's directly connected to the Bible. 96.1211 and the boundary stone, the landmark. So it's a legal document.
Okay. All right. Now I wanted to ask you a question about proclaiming your nationality and as far as like securing your land. Have you done so, or would you say like doing this process is more so like for your children, for for future generations?
Have I proclaimed my
benefits, from like securing your land? Have you been able to do this to secure your estate, or would you say that like this is like this is something you're doing for your
well, as far as the future generations, yes. As far as the land is yours by blood. Now, if you ask me, have I done a land patent or anything like that? No, I haven't done any land patent. The land is already yours. You just have to, make notice to the proper authorities who you are. And I'll give you an example. There's a young lady in my clan, and she's employed by the state, by the corporate state of Arkansas. She's employed by them. And when she had gone to Human Resources, they tried to give her a hard time about, well, the state is not going to allow you to not pay taxes and this, that, and the third. And she took her proclamation up there, notarial permit, and she said, well, that's not your call. You send it to the higher-ups. They have to make that call. So they sent it, well, okay, I'll send it, Caucasian woman. I'll send it. I'm just letting you know that more than likely it's going to come back denied, blah, blah, blah. So she sent her documentation up there, headquarters of the state. They came back down. This woman is not to pay any state or federal taxes.
Wow.
None. So she's still employed by the state. These people know, man. They already know what's yours. There's a maximum of law that states. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, revised 1968. Bouvier's Dictionary Law, 1856. The right of blood and kindred cannot be destroyed by any civil law. Yeah.
Okay, I have another question for you too, because like you're in Arkansas, right? You just said you're in Arkansas. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I grew up in Memphis.
As we say, Arkansas, or as the clan say, Arkansas. Arkansas. Wushashaktum proper, which is Washita proper. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So I grew up in Memphis, so I want to ask a question for like all the family and friends in that area, like in the Mid-South, because people like hit up the Moors in America website asking about what they can do. People who are on the information, are looking for remedies, looking for what they could do, like whether there's a temple or people. There's no one that I can really send them to, as I know there's no temples in that area, and then just like you were saying earlier, with people who are like out here informing people, to like utilize the 14th Amendment. So there's like no one trustworthy, really that I could send them to. So I'm wondering, like, do you have like an organization or something set up, for people in that area out there near you? Is there anything that we could share with the family?
Basically, what I established on that site was for self-study, self-edification of yourself. But as far as holding classes and things of that nature, no. But I will travel and do lectures. I've had a lot of people as far as California, Florida, Connecticut, Ohio, next door Texas, Washington State, where else, man? Virginia,
got you all over the country.
Pennsylvania, some everywhere, man. They actually come and teach.
Okay.
Come and do a lecture. I just hadn't had time because I'm putting some final bricks in the wall for myself to get us a proper private operating financial institution where, if your documentation is correct, then we'll be able to assist you in getting commerce going. So I've been busy doing that, finishing that up. But once I'm done, then I'll be free to navigate a little bit, to go to these places and deliver this knowledge and assist people. But as far as a temple in this area, there is a temple, but I cannot vouch as to exactly what they teach. I haven't attended it. Some people and some things in there I'm in disagreement. I'm not going to put them out online like that.
Yeah.
A lot of what I have learned, was on my own. Was on my own. So I would suggest that people form study groups.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that they form study groups, and that way they can cover information. They can cover more ground a lot faster than being on your own. I had to do it. I was on my own, for a number of years. I had a study partner, but he had taken ill, and he wasn't able to, continue his studies with me. So a lot of it I had to, study on my own. I was on my own for a number of years, man. But study groups will help you gain a way more ground in a lot shorter time span.
Yeah.
That's what I suggest for people. If there is no temple in your area, not only that, number two, vast majority of the temples are not going to teach you this information that I'm sharing on this call today. They're not going to do it. The number one, maybe they don't know it. Number two, we have to be honest, man, that all organizations have been infiltrated, man. They have been backdoor negotiation stage. Now, am I saying that about every temple? No. But am I speaking about individuals? Quite possibly. Even some of these quote-unquote L's and Bays, have been infiltrated, that may have been doing stretches in the penitentiary long yards of time, and they somebody came to them, pulled their coattail, hey, if you go in and cause dissension, we'll cut your time short and let you out. So, we have to be careful with all that type of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty much in alignment with what Brother Taj Tariq has said, too, when we talked to him earlier on the same channel. He was pretty much just advising everybody, like, hey, go into the temple, but study, and even when you go in, still study. Like, you can't go in, blind.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's still a lot of work to be done for the most part.
Yeah, it is. So, with that being said, if you really want it, and if you really want to know this stuff, as I know it, because everything I'm giving you, I don't have any screen in front of me. This is just off the dome.
Yeah.
You can know it. The universe will give it to you. Mm-hmm. You just got to be open to receive it and claim it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. Yeah, so that just brings it back home. Like, remember that the brother is not reading right now or looking at a screen. He's sharing this wealth of information off the dome. Okay? So definitely go to obashangol.com. We'll have the link in the description. If you have anything else to share, please go ahead. I really don't have any more questions for now.
Okay, well, let's take some questions from your audience.
All right. Hang on. Yeah, we don't have any more questions right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
well, I guess that's a good thing.
If you're open to it, we can run it back at a later date.
Okay. Well, I guess I must have covered a lot of ground, huh?
Now, this was a powerful build. What I will say is this: you shared a lot of information, and there's a whole lot more that you can't even speak on because, time constraints and everything. So share all your information with people, how they can get in touch with you, not just the website, but also how they can email you, like you said, for lectures and, bringing you out to speak. And just share everything now. And if we can, we'll run this back.
Okay. Well, the best way to reach me, I'm not on Facebook as regular as I used to. I normally get on there maybe once, twice a day, sometimes maybe 3. I check my notifications, check my messages, and, I dip on out. But the best way to reach me is through my website. My email address is on the site. And, if you got any questions or concerns, you can reach me there. I don't, as long as it's not too in-depth, if it's very in-depth, then, I do consultations. You can set a consultation from my website. Just, compensate me for my time, and we can go from there. But everything is pretty much primarily driven to my site.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
now, if you got anything in particular you want to talk about, brother, actually, I know you don't have. I know you got some questions. You probably just can't think of them right now, but
yeah, I'm still kind of in family mode right now because the wife isn't here, so it's just me. We have 5 children, so yeah,
okay.
I'm about to go check on the house, make sure everything ain't falling apart. But
okay,
it's a powerful deal with you, brother.
Man, I received that. Yeah, I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
We have an 11-step process on there. Once you go to my website, you can click on the red tab. Directly below my picture, it says Obashango Wells Method. If you choose, you want us to do, your proclamation paperwork, whatever, or if you do your own, we can assist you with that. We have the geneticists there. We have, I do bonds and whatnot, silver, things of that nature. If you need assistance with any of that, you can reach out to us. If you're capable of doing it yourself, or hey, more power to you. I will say this: get the document under seal. Get the documents under seal. Get the 14th Amendment Congressional Records document dealing with the 14th Amendment under seal. Get the Georgia State Archives document under seal. Get the 1787-1836 Treaty, Constitution, and the Bill of Rights under seal. And there's a list of the documents as well that you can get under seal that you'll need for dealing with these de facto officers. So, when you're dealing with these people, one thing I learned from Prince Uriel Bey, he said you want to get the documentation under seal. And you always want to get it under seal. So, I would strongly suggest that. Get the documentation under seal when you're dealing with these people. And some of the benefits of having these documents under seal, I'll tell you a story about a good friend of mine. He's a Moor as well. He's with the African American clan of Moors down in Texas. Mm-hmm. And I think in 2016, he had his daughter. His daughter was born. Of course, she was born in a hospital down there in Texas. And what had happened was they tried to force the birth certificate and the Social Security card on the child.
Uh-huh.
So he had said, he called me and he said, man, Mo, they trying to force my wife to take a birth certificate and a social for the baby, man. What do I need to do? Now, he already had his 11-step process already done.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, more, this is what you can do. I said, what you need to do is you take the treaties in there. You already got them on the seal, 1787, 1836. You take the Constitution in there. I said, you got the 14th Amendment documents from Georgia State Archives and the Library of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that in there. And you take your DNA in there, your genetic descent, because he already had his DNA done. He had his genetic descent done as well, Tyrone Cannon. And you take the rights of indigenous people. So he said, okay, Mo. And I said, what you do is speak with the head person. Okay? And I asked him, you know, who knows the law? So he said, okay, Mo, I'm going to go home and get these documents. And he said, and I got them and take them back up there. I said, okay. So we went home. We got the appropriate documents for the situation, like I had informed him. He went back to the hospital. And when he walked up in there, he said, I have a question. Is there anyone here who knows law? So the head nurse came out. She said, well, I know the law. She said, how can I assist you? She said, well, my wife just had a child, and you're trying to force her to have a birth certificate and social and, you know, for our child. And I want to show you why we are not obligated to any of that. He said, okay. So he laid out his documentation, started to explain it. So the nurse said, oh, wow, this is above my head. Let me go get the hospital attorney. So they had an attorney on, you know, on the premises.
Mm-hmm.
So she had gone to get the attorney, and then she had come back with the attorney. And the attorney said, well, what seems to be the problem? He said, well, I'd like to explain to you, they're trying to get my daughter, you know, force her to have a birth certificate, social, or, you know, things of that nature. And I'm going to show you why I'm not obligated to any of that. He said, okay. So he laid out all his documentation. Boom, 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 boom. Uh-huh. By the time he laid out the documentation and the attorney reviewed it and explained it, and he explained it to the attorney reviewed the documentation, and he said, he told the nurse and all the staff, you know what? This guy is right. He's correct. It's us that are outside of the law.
Yeah.
That's what the attorney told the staff.
Wow.
And they said, what about the birth? He said, he doesn't have to have any of that. If he doesn't want it, you don't have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, based on this documentation, we're the ones outside the law. That's what the attorney told the hospital staff.
Yeah.
And he said, Social Security card, he said, if he doesn't want any of that stuff, he doesn't have to have it.
Wow.
They said, so they said, well, would you like vaccination for child? I said, no, I don't want any of that. He said, okay. So they gave him a hospital card, just showing that the child was born in that hospital. That's it. He walked out with his child.
Wow.
Yeah. So the attorney admitted it's us that's outside of the law.
Yeah,
now you can confirm this story. The brother's on Facebook. His name is Antoine, son of J. Poole Bey.
Okay.
And we had done his documentation paperwork. He followed the 11 steps to the T. You know, and just like the sister I told you about that works for the state, you know, they're navigating on their documentation. So another story dealing with the 14th Amendment. Mm-hmm. There were some Moors down here who were challenging the Attorney General on the long arm statute for the state of Arkansas, because the long arm statute is based on the 14th Amendment. So he asked the attorney, how are you able to get jurisdiction over people that's not inside your jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. And the Attorney General wrote back, well, Arkansas has a long arm statute, blah, blah, blah. That's how we ever gained jurisdiction. And he said, well, what about this? And he sent them a copy of the congressional records of the 14th Amendment, which I had given him. I gave him those documents a while ago before he used it, dealing with the state attorney general. And he wanted to do a constitutional challenge, on the long arm statute. So when he sent a copy of that congressional record, the state attorney general wrote back and said, I do not wish to litigate.
Yeah, bet.
I do not wish to litigate. Basically, I'm tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't argue against it.
Touch that. Yeah.
No, because the whole system is predicated on fraud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it will expose everybody. Because you have to understand, if you are a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, okay, and you are holding some sort of quote-unquote office, remember what they said in Constitutional Law, Reprint for Case Law, Volume 6, and if you go and read American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Second Edition, subsection 195, an unconstitutional statute creates no office.
Yeah.
So you're not even the officer of the office. You're de facto. And the only way you're de facto standing can work on me is if I agree to it, if I accept you.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't have to accept your fraudulent position. Because if I do, there's a maxim of law that says, he who would be deceived, then let him.
Mm-hmm.
He who would be deceived, then let him. That means if I allow you to deceive me, knowingly allow you to deceive me, then there's no injury.
Yeah.
Because I knew it prior to that. But I chose in my stupidity. That's not even ignorance. That's stupidity and foolishness to deal with you in your fraud. So these people are dead, man. They are civiliter mortuus.
Yeah.
Everyone under the 14th Amendment is civiliter mortuus. And then let's even go deeper. We're going to talk about the certificate of live birth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If the various states were created under statutory enactment, and they're spelled with upper and lower case as a proper noun and as, quote unquote, the Government Printing Office Writing Style Guide of 2008-2016 says that proper nouns must be spelled like, but your certificate of live birth has all caps letters on it.
Yeah.
Then what are they doing? That's a corporate registration.
Mm-hmm.
That's a corporate registration. The moment you were put down on that piece of paper, including black, Negro, colored, white, Latino, Indian, or Asian, any colorable application, and the name is all caps as well, that is a corporate registration. It has nothing to do with the proper rules of English grammar. It doesn't follow the proper rules of English grammar. And if you read the Department of Defense Writing Style Guide, which I have in the language folder in the OneDrive, it tells you that all capital letters are reserved for the names of ships and military exercises.
Yeah.
And if you go back to Franklin D. Roosevelt, emergency war powers, United States citizens were brought underneath the Trading with the Enemy Act as amended in United States Statutes at Large, Volume 48, Stat 1. It tells you that. So they were made the enemy. And if in his inaugural addresses, Franklin D. Roosevelt asked for emergency war powers to deal with the bankruptcy and the depression. He was granted that by Congress. And you can find evidence of that in the 1933, 1937, 1941, 1945 congressional records. I have that on my website under the section Project Worm Code. dealing with the democracy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It's under one of the links. You can read it for yourself. So he created a military state. That's what he did. A military admiralty maritime state.
You know, they actually teach some of this stuff in business school. I don't know if people aren't paying attention to what, but like especially what you were saying about how they create corporations and, you know, with your name being in all caps, like this, they actually teach this in business school. Well, at least I learned it in business school.
You see?
So, yeah, that's crazy.
So they're letting you know state of California, all caps, is not the organic United States statutes at large created state of California upper and lower case. It's not. The upper and lower case deals with a subsidiary geographical trusteeship awarded to the territory, the people of the territory who wanted statehood. And when they came in, they agreed to the terms, conditions, stipulations, and agreements known as the contract, which is the Constitution for the United States of America. That deals with the geographical landmass. The all capital letters, state of California, state of Arkansas, state of Tennessee, state of Ohio, that is nowhere to be found in the statute. Nowhere. It's a legal fiction. It doesn't exist. It's an ens legis. So they incorporated you into an ens legis as an asset. The child was claimed as an asset. Why? Because when they put the race of the father and the race of the mother, 99.9% of the time it's under colorable terms. So therefore, you cannot make contract when you're subilatum mortuus. You understand what I'm saying? So when your mother signed that contract, she signed in a dead status. And the child automatically gets transferred as an orphan to the corporation. Because the mother is legally dead, the father is legally dead. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And then from there, after the child is registered with the state, then it's reported to the United States with the proper documentation that another asset has come in to subsidize the bankruptcy upon which credit can be predicated. Loans can be predicated. So it's a cash cow.
Yeah.
It's a cash cow situation, minus the real money, gold and silver. It's a credit cash cow organization and establishment. And that doesn't matter what your complexion is. You can be alabaster, you know, looking like sheetrock, all the way down to looking like asphalt. If you are legally dead, you cannot contract. If you agree to that certificate of live birth and a legally dead or a civilatum mortuus position, you have just given your child away to the state, because you cannot inherit property if you're dead.
Yeah.
You cannot be trustee of property if you're dead. You have nothing else to do with property if you're dead. So, therefore, that is a binding contract, you know, because ignorance of the law is no excuse, number one, but it can be refuted through non-full disclosure. You will never give a full disclosure as to what you were signing.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, once a person becomes of age, all they have to do is challenge that in regards to establishment of who they actually are for the record via status. Because now, once they learn about the 14th Amendment, they can disavow it. Because it's fraud. Fraud vitiates all forms of contract and makes them void ab initio, of which the birth certificate is an adhesion contract to the 14th Amendment under the All Persons Born Clause. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so these things are basically, and being that you've lived under it so long, you have equity tied up in there.
Mm-hmm.
They owe you damages for living under a fraud.
Yeah.
So you want your equity. So therefore, man, you can take control of the vessel. You don't own it, but you can control it, and you can control it through the treaty. You can control it through the treaty. Why? Because it has equity. Everything that they predicated off of that, all of the accounts, all of the funding that they've done of various black book projects, and all of the funds that thing created, created because you were the underlying asset. You were the underlying asset of the legal fiction that was created on you at birth through the certificate of live birth, which shows proof of registration into a corporation and this legal fiction that has no statutory power whatsoever from Congress or the state. All of the equity that was predicated off of you being the bottom underlying asset, you have an equity in that, because if it wasn't for you, none of that could be created. And you can take control of that vessel and have a share in the equity. And underneath the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836, you can look at Article 2, which deals with if either of the parties shall be at war with any nation, whatever, both parties agree to not take a commission from the enemy, nor fight under the colors of the enemy, where the United States fought under the colors of the democracy, which was not a lawful contracting party when it came to the Constitution for the United States of America as it relates to that treaty and of 1787 and 1836. And they fight under the color of law, and they're supporting the bankruptcy. So they are already in violation of Article 2 of the treaty. Article 3, if either party shall be at war with any nation and take a prize belonging to the nation, and there shall be found on board, subject to effects of either party, then both parties agree to that the subject shall be set at liberty and their effects restored to them. They have to restore you the equity that you put into that thing known as the legal fiction, the straw man that was created at birth. So there's applications of the treaty to that as well. So, that's something that we all need to look at and study a little. I have a full comprehension of it, but for those that don't, they need to look at that, and scrutinize that a little bit more with a full comprehension and understanding. And it'll come to them. It'll make sense.
Yeah, I have one last question. This is something that may need to be answered offline or something, but what do you think, we need to do, collectively to enforce that?
What I just said?
Yes.
Well, there's a couple of ways you can enforce it. I know I'm going to say something that a lot of people don't agree with. But people talk bad about the UCC financing statement. They talk bad about it because they don't comprehend it and understand it. That is the only way that the democracy can operate. That's the only way. And if I'm wrong, all they got to do is go to a real estate. Just go to the real estate office and look up all the transactions pertaining to banks. I do it all the time. And you will see that banks are securing their equity or their interest in property via financing statements. They do it all. That's on the record here. So here's the thing. Knowing that you're dealing with a corporate entity and you have an interest or share in some assets that they have that rightfully so belong to you, then what you need to do is the administrative process. The private administrative process to privately come forward with your claim and prove your claim. And you can write them in and get them into a default position, and then you can record it and make public record. And then you can even go as far as to run it in the newspaper for 30 days, which is common law. And then write them again while it's running in the paper to let them know that you're running your claim public, to show everybody that, hey, you owe me and you're a debtor, And if it's not so, you have to correspond with me that what's being ran in the paper is false, which they're not going to do because they didn't answer you prior to you run it in the paper when you did the private administrative process.
Mm-hmm.
Then after the 30 days, they don't respond. Then you close it out with a treaty, and you can do what's called a non-UCC filing.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why you do a non-UCC filing because it'll go hand in hand with the treaty. United States statutes at large, Stat 484 through 487, which you can find at UCC 9-311. Mm-hmm. And you put your instrument numbers in there and all your documentation, along with that financing statement where it's filed on the records. You put the affidavit from the newspaper where you ran your claim, because they're going to give you an affidavit of publishing, and you close that out in such manner.
Okay.
And then there are some places who do recognize this common law method. Number one, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. Hong Kong.
Okay.
Hong Kong, China. They want all debts.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why is because they understand common law. They know what common law debts are. What you created was a common law debt based on the truth and based on the equity that's owed to you. Yeah. If they can verify that this is valid common law-wise, Hong Kong is still on the common law system.
Wow.
You can use it to do business over there.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other places that's based on the common law system. Ghana, as a matter of fact, Ghana is looking to do business with us as well. South Africa, anywhere where there's common law.
Mm-hmm.
New Zealand, Australia, a couple of places. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And the UCC is recognized. UCC is pretty much recognized worldwide. Canada has their own version. The Virgin Islands has their own version. The Bahamas, anywhere where England was, New Zealand has it. Australia, a lot of them deal with the UCC.
Okay.
Yeah. But you want a non-UCC filing based on treaty. And the only reason why you're filing a finance statement with the treaty, because we have to understand, it's statistically proven that the vast majority of what they say, quote unquote, Americans who are American, people who are American, and I use that term loosely just for common vernacular and dialogue purposes for this this conversation. We don't have to get into the lawful technical term of who's American. We already know that, you know. But just for dialogue purposes, the stats show that the vast majority of Americans, man, read on an 8th grade reading level. The vast majority of people read on an 8th grade reading level. So they don't really understand how to read above that. They don't even understand what is law and what is not. But they do recognize signs and symbols.
Yeah.
You can take a child down the road and he sees the double arches. He's going to know that's McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or you see the Burger King symbol, or you see Exxon. The world operates on signs and symbols. Well, the financial statement has signs and symbols. Anyone look up in the left-hand corner, they see those bars. Mm-hmm. They know that's a financing statement, and they know something about it, that it deals with quote unquote secure transaction. Mm-hmm. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
You learn about it, because right now that is what the de facto operates off of. And as a matter of fact, under Public Law 89-719, that deals with the priority of lien in regards to the Federal Tax Lien Act. Federal Tax Lien Act of 1968 or 1969, Public Law 89-719, which means that the IRS even has to take a backseat to priority lien.
Wow.
They put the IRS up underneath the Uniform Commercial Code.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So just learn about it, you know. And that's what you can do to enforce a claim, because the claim, man, is going to stay valid. As long as it's underneath the treaty, it's a debt that has to be paid underneath treaty law. And if you look up 11 U.S.C. subsection 1503, Pull that up real quick. 11 U.S.C. 1503, and read it for the people.
Hang on a second. Okay,
All right.
International obligations of the United States. To the extent that this chapter conflicts with an obligation of the United States arising out of any treaty or other form of agreement to which it is a party with one or more countries, the requirements of the treaty or agreement prevail. And
there
then
you
that
go.
was the effective date, April 2005.
Okay. Now, United States Code under Chapter 11, United States Title 11 deals with bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
You have bankruptcy under Chapter 13, Chapter 11, and Chapter 7.
Yeah.
That's underneath United States Code Title 11 deals with bankruptcy. So even in bankruptcy, they still owe you. The treaty takes precedent.
Wow.
It's paramount.
Yeah.
Now, read 9-311. You type in UCC 9-311. Read that for the people.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Perfection of security, interest, and property. And I'm on a cornell.edu website. Okay, secured interest subject to other law, except as otherwise provided in subsection D. The filing of a financing statement is not necessary or effective to perfect the security interest in parties subject to 1. A statute, regulation, or treaty of the United States whose requirements for an security interest obtaining priority over the rights of a lien collector with respect.
Stop right there.
All right.
You see how the treaty takes precedence in that?
Uh-huh.
Although a financing statement is not required to perfect the interest, the reason why I file it is because most of these people don't read or they can't read. They recognize signs and symbols. So when I put the statute of the treaty into the body of that document, I put non-UCC filing, they already know.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm going to give you one more to look up. Look up UCC 8-202.
All right. All right. Issuer's responsibility and defenses. Notice.
Yeah, you want to look up in that paragraph uncertificated security. Look for uncertificated security.
All right.
And read there.
The terms of an uncertificated security include those stated in any instrument, indenture, or document, or in a constitution, statute, ordinance, rule, regulation, order, or the like, pursuant to which the security is issued.
Stop right there. Securities deal with bond.
Mm-hmm.
Now you understand why I do silver bond?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on and sharing this with us. Hopefully we can run this back in the future.
Most definitely. If I got a little bit of time, I stayed up late last night, man, clearing my desk. I had some clients I had to take care of, clear my desk just for this call. So after this, I'm free today. The sun is out. I'm going to go enjoy some of it.
All right. But definitely, Once again, just share your information with everybody, and we're going to close out.
Yes,
okay, go ahead.
I want to give a thanks to the audience as well. You can reach me at obashangoel.com. That's O as in Oscar, B as in Bravo, A as in Alpha, S as in Sierra, H as in Hotel, A as in Alpha, N as in November, G as in Golf, O as in Oscar, E as in Echo, L as in Lima.com. If you need consultations, you can get that from the site. If you're trying to start your process status correction, you can get that from the site as well under Obashango Wells method. And I have a plethora of information for free under Toriano's OneDrive. All donations are appreciated. Not saying that you have to give one, but give a love offering. Hey, I do appreciate it. Thank you kindly. And that's how you can reach me. You can email me as well. My email address is on the site as well. So.
All right. Okay, well, there you have it, family. Definitely hit this brother up. He's put in a lot of work. I want to thank you again for coming on, and hopefully we can run this back in the future.
Thank you, Brother Sharif, for having me, man.
All right. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining in. Make sure you share this with your family and friends, like it, and tune in for the next show. All right, peace, everybody.
All right, peace and love, family. Ashe.